Howdy folks, doing something a little bit different today from the motorbikes and from the amp repairs. The amp repairs are history, man. I'm sorry to say COVID's really just put a stop to all of that, anything involving music. So if you're looking for amp repairs, I'm sorry to say it's not going to happen for a long time. However, today we're going to change a crystal in this. I just received a Sapphire crystal that is supposed to be the right dimensions. I know from reading tutorials they say that you should buy one size up and one size down, but I'm going to go ahead and take the risk. Worst case scenario, doesn't fit, whoop-de-doo. Ordered this off eBay. They're not cheap. Sapphire crystals are not cheap. Now this doesn't seem to have any AR coating. It says plain, although I'm pretty sure the listing said AR coating. So that kind of sucks. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to change a crystal in the watch today. The tools you're going to need is a case back opener, one of reasonable quality because you don't want to scratch the back of the watch. This is a watch that I changed the movement because the one that was in it was faulty. It actually now has a NH36 movement in there. That also involved changing the day and date wheel to make sure that it lines up, because the crown goes from the 3 o'clock position in this watch to the 4 o'clock position. We are just going to take the case back off, take the movement out, and replace the crystal. It's not too difficult, but you do have to be cautious and careful. So first thing we've done here is take the case back off. It's just sitting up here away from everything. Next thing I'm going to do is take the crown out. Now, in order to do that, let me see if I can keep my hand steady and show you. See this little lever right here? You have to push that down and you can pull the crown out. Obviously I need 2 hands to do that, so I'm going to do that off camera. But basically it's this lever here, you need to push down this side. So there we have it, folks. The crown is out. I've just got it sitting inside the case back. Next thing to do is we're going to pull out the movement. Pick a point where you're not touching any gears, or you're not going to be interfering with anything. So you don't want to damage any components in here, and you certainly don't want to touch anything with your fingers, so I'm going to be using my tweezers the whole time. Alrighty, so the movement's out of the watch. It's nice and safely put away. The next thing I'm going to do now is measure up some of the crystal dies for my crystal press and make sure I've got the right sizes. Pop this crystal out, pop the new one in. Let me size up some crystals and then I'll show you what the crystal press looks like. Alrighty, so I've got the watch case situated inside the crystal press. It's just a screw down one. I don't like the little ones that you pop in and out. They're cheap and they break, and I'm not going to spend $200, $300, $400, sometimes up to $700 on the Bezel tool, because I'm just doing this for fun. So I found a nice Japanese one on eBay. This one's nice and solid and, solid steel, heavy, and it doesn't flex when you're screwing this down. You don't want this arm to flex and break. So I'm just going to slowly screw this down until I hear a pop. I've got a couple of dies set up on the bottom, mainly just to increase the height. This die here is set up so that it goes on the outside of the bezel. And the bezel, if you look at this case here, this is a broken SNK, but see the bezel there? So this die actually sits on the outside of that bezel, so it leaves room for the crystal to just pop out. This is the best fitting die I have for the inside. So let's screw this down and get started. Looks like it shattered. Well, hey, it doesn't matter because it's the old one anyway, but that's a shame. So let's pull out the pieces and clean this up. Damn. Alright folks, so what I've done now is I've taken the bezel off the case here. Perhaps that's something I should have done before I removed the crystal, but looking at the bezel, it looks like the crystal goes into the bezel. So I'm a bit disappointed it shattered. And I'm also a bit worried that I'm going to shatter the new one. Although I have to say At least with the new crystal, I have the exact size die I need rather than this small 24mm to remove it. I couldn't put the next size up because the next size up was a 30mm and it wouldn't actually fit into the case. But what I'm going to do either way is I'm going to clean up all this crud here. Look at it. Alright folks, well there is the crystal back in the case. So I've pressed it down evenly. No matter how good a quality press you buy, it's good to turn the movement around. Now what I ended up doing, because you saw the old Hardlex crystal broke, which is fine because it's trash anyway, I ended up removing the bezel. Now what actually, it turns out that the crystal is actually mounted to the bezel. So it's not mounted to the watch. Maybe to eliminate or reduce the likelihood of the crystal breaking, I should have removed the bezel and put the bezel in the press. I think it would have shattered either way. I was supporting it as best as I could and I was going very slowly. Either way, the new crystal is in, the bezel is in. What I ended up doing, and I didn't put this on camera because I was busy concentrating really hard, trying not to break this crystal, I put the bezel into the press and pressed the crystal down into the bezel. And then when I was done, you can see this large die that's here. That went onto the outside of the bezel and I pushed the bezel back onto the watch. So now we're just going to fit the movement back in. I'm just going to blow it out with a blower. Never use your breath because your breath has moisture in it and that can go into the case. It can ruin your movement. It can fog up your crystal, which means you've got moisture in there and you need to service your movement. Now, this being a brand new movement, the NH36, I don't want to compromise anything. Next, you will see this SNK809 with an NH36 hackable, windable movement and a sapphire crystal on the case.